Hello everyone, it's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today. So today we're going to talk about fasting for spiritual growth. I'm just going to hang in here for a little bit. Hello Tamji, nice to see you. So in case everyone's wondering why am I dressed in a sari, because we're still celebrating Ganesh festival. I'm at a friend's place and we are in midst of some celebrations. So that's why we're going to talk about a really nice topic, fasting for spiritual growth. If you are seeing this live, you can always say a quick hi and let me know you're here. If you are watching this as a replay, you can put a hashtag. And if you have any questions for me, let me know and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So this is really something that's aligned with the current season, because we are in the middle of festivities, and that is why I'm dressed in a sari. So fasting is an important tool. When you use it as a tool for spiritual growth, it can really support you, right? And across different religions, across different cultures, across different traditions, fasting has been used since the ancient times as something that can bring you closer to your spirituality, that can bring you closer to the deity that you believe in, or that can bring you closer to whatever principle of god that you believe in, right? So I am just going to talk to you about my experience, because fasting is going to be very different across different cultures, different religions, right? So there are ways of fasting, like 21 days of fast. In Christianity there is Lent, so there are different cultures that or traditions that will follow different sorts of fasting. In Islam, the month of Ramadan is for fasting from sunrise until sunset, right? And that's when you can eat food. So there are different significances for different religions. Certain times, in Sanatan Dharma or Vedic tradition, you can also see that people fast on certain days, right? They will fast either on a Monday or on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and that has to do more to align themselves with the energy of the planet. And to learn more about this, I'm going to have schedule an interview, or sorry, I'm going to be interviewing Nandi Shivam on Saturday. You can access the video for or the interview for planetary archetypes this Saturday at 11 o'clock. So this Saturday at 11, we'll be discussing, what different planets mean, why are you fasting on certain days, and which energy can you connect with. So that's the part of that discussion. But here, what I'm saying is, you fast mainly, you can fast to get rid of the distractions of food, right? Because when you eat food, a lot of your energy goes in the digestion of food, right? Again, depending on the kind of food that you eat, the food can actually stimulate your mind, create a lot more thoughts and emotions. And that is why in certain cultures or in the Vedic tradition, you will fast only by eating some sattvic food. So there are three main principles of your mind, right? They're known as the trigunas that form the entire universe, or they're talked about as the gunas of the mind. Sattva is the principle of clarity. Rajas is the principle of stimulation, and tamas is the principle of inertia. So these are three principles that are operating everywhere and in the entire world, and they also make the fabric of the universe. So when we talk about fasting, it is always to increase this sattva or the clarity principle of the mind, so as not to stimulate your mind excessively, and then you can deepen your connection with your god or any deity that you can you're trying to develop a connection with. So that is the whole principle of fasting or spiritual fast. So again, if you look at, I grew up fasting with lots of yummy foods. We can eat potatoes, and I didn't really know the significance of fasting at the time. But on Mondays, we would all fast because that was how I was brought up. And we would refrain from eating any meat or any animal products except for ghee or milk. So not really animal products, but anything that was like where you had to kill the animal, example. right? So anything like milk or ghee was totally allowed, and those are sattvic foods. So you could have sago, or you could have, potatoes or sweet potatoes, yams. So those are known as sattvic because they are balancing your mind. They're not stimulating your mind or creating a lot of inertia in the mind. So that's one aspect of it. The word upavas. So when we talk about fasting, in Ayurveda or in Sanskrit, the word is known as upavas, right? Vas is to stay or live or reside, and upa means close, right? So, what essentially you're doing is you're trying to stay close to your own spirit, or you're trying to stay close to the spirit or your deity by taking the distractions of the food off. So, those are a few things you're going to try when you go for spiritual fasting. Thank you, Ushaji. Thank you so much. So again, with fasting or spiritual fasting, everybody has a very different experience. Some people do more of a 10-day fast, a 20-day fast, a 30-day fast, because they are looking for some signs, from their deity as well. So that's also very common. Some In some cultures, they'll fast for a month because of the significance of the month. In my culture, like maybe the month of Shravan, so there's a certain month where people will fast because that's considered the mating season of the animals, and you don't want to kill your animals at that time, right? And then there are planetary fasts, or there are fasts for a certain deity where you're trying to develop a connection with that principle. So these are a few things. There's a lot that I can talk about in fasting, but the one main thing to realize is, or the one main thing to pay attention is, always when you're fasting for spiritual purposes, right? Try to always keep the main thing, right? So if you are fasting for your spiritual progress, always try to focus on your goal and try to understand what the goal is, and do not get caught up in the food piece or the hunger piece, right? Because sometimes when your stomach is growling, you're going to be really irritable, you're going to be really angry or hangry, and you're not going to really connect with your own spirit. You're not really going to connect with your own mind or emotions, or really, get centered. You're always going to think about food. So that is one thing to understand is, there are different ways to fast, right? You can definitely fast as per your requirements and also as per your body type. So if you are someone who has blood sugar issues, I wouldn't advise fasting too much, or diabetes, for example, right? So fasting for a long time can lower your blood sugar as well, and can really drop it significantly. So always, if you have any health conditions, work with a practitioner, talk to your doctor, talk to someone before you decide fast. And whenever you're trying to fast for spirituality, always focus on what it is that you require and then go for that fasting, right? So because I am in a friend's place, we are celebrating this festival, I'm just going to keep this really short. If you have any questions about spiritual fasting, I would love to know more about those, and I'll try to make sure I answer all the questions. Today I just wanted to give you a little bit of introduction, and this is something that is going to be completely diverse based on different cultures, and this is also going to be completely diverse based on your own experience with the fast or with your practices, right? So there is no one size fits all, especially when it comes to the spiritual realm, right? And again, when you're choosing foods when you're fasting, an idea, because I always take it back to the Ayurvedic doshas and the dosha types and the prakriti, right? So for a pitta person, even though you're fasting, try to have something that's going to cool you and ground you, right? So if you're looking at some sattvic foods, and if you're okay with milk, you can have, milk, or you can have coconut milk, or you can fast on coconut water or some fruit juice, so your blood sugar doesn't get too lowered, or you don't get really hangry, right? Because pittas have a fast metabolism, you're going to be really hungry and irritable, and anger is also one common thing for a pitta type when their head gets heated up, right? Or they can get extremely angry. So the whole purpose of the fast is to center yourself, to ground yourself. And if you become extremely hungry because of the strong digestive fire that you have, you might lose the perspective. So if you are a pitta, eating some dates is another good idea, or having, coconut water or milk or coconut milk, with some cardamom. It's a good idea to do that. For a vata kind, right? So, okay, Nirjala Upvas. So for a vata kind of a person, fasting can also use like potatoes or sweet potatoes, right? So you can definitely use some kind of root vegetables which are allowed, which are not going to distract you. Carrots are used by, a lot of people as well. So you can definitely do that as well. And you can have milk or milk products, or sometimes, like even cottage cheese is permissible in certain, um, across certain cultures. But again, this is really going to depend on the culture or the tradition that you come from, right? Because in some fast, after you break the fast, you can have meat, and some cultures you don't have meat. So there's really no right or wrong. You have to look at what you're wanting to gain out of it, and what the whole purpose of the fasting is. When it comes to the kapha types, because they have a lot of storage of energy in the body, they can fast for longer times, they can fast without water, they can fast with water, right? So those are a few things to just pay in mind. There's a question from Uttamji. He's talking about why some people do nirjal upvas. So again, the whole point of fasting without water is also for, like, when they're doing it for spiritual significance, it is something where they're doing it to bring themselves closer to spirit, or they have some thing, some wish that they want, their deity to grant them. So that's why, to please the deity, this is also very common, to develop connection, to connect with that energy, right? They some people think that as far as strict as I can be with myself, I can really connect more with the deity. So that is also true in some cultures. So that's why people do dry fasting. Dry fasting is, when you're absolutely avoiding foods, right? You're also avoiding water, and there's no liquid, there's no broth, there's no water, there's no tea. So it's also very different from other fasts. So you're not going to have any liquids as well. And again, traditionally, because it's a religious group or a practice that's been going on, it would really depend on how people do it. Or if you're saying that, okay, you're going to do a fast for one day, or in my culture, across Navratri, the 9 nights of the goddess, people will fast for 9 nights without any water, right? Or 10 days without any water, and then they will break fast. So that's the kind of purpose of why people do it. So there, everybody has a different goal. They're trying to align with the energy of the god, or they're looking for some thing, that's why they'll do the fast. But sometimes you can also do intermittent fasting. So this is also common, where people will do a dry fast as an intermittent fast. So between, maybe for 124 hours, they'll absolutely do a dry fast, not eat, not drink anything, not have any water. But that's mainly for the health reasons, not in terms of spiritual energy, right? Who should not do it physically? Again, if you are someone who's pregnant or nursing, or if you are someone who has, so the indications, contraindications would be similar to what I spoke the last week. If you are extremely weak, if you have an eating disorder, or if you have a lot of, if you have a really strong hunger which you cannot control, you can get really hangry or irritable. Pregnancy, postpartum, where you're breastfeeding the child, again, you're not going to do it. So these blood sugar issues, right? Having diabetes, ideally do not fast without medical supervision. So if your blood sugar drops too low, that could be hazardous to your life. So don't go for it. So these are some things you should pay attention to. And as I mentioned, like the vata person is, for them, when we talk about the Ayurvedic prakrutis or dosha types, a kapha who has like a nice strong build can do the water fast or can do fast even without water, right? Which is known as dry fasting. For others, typically pittas and vatas, you are going to need some fuel, right? Because your car does not have a lot of fuel in the car. You're going to need some fuel to stay grounded, centered, and focused, because the whole purpose of spiritual fasting is to stay centered, grounded, focused, and really develop that connection. So a vata might have a lot of thoughts and get a little bit anxious, or start worrying or start getting fatigued if they haven't eaten anything. A pitta, on the other hand, might start getting angry, right? So physically, in terms of the dosha types, kapha person should be able to do it easily. Again, when people are more sattvic, they are going to be better resilient towards hunger and thirst, right? So somebody who has like a strong mind or has a strong will is going to be much easier for them to fast, versus somebody who has a lot of emotions going on or lots of stressors going on, right? So ideally, choose a fast depending on how it works in your life too, how it works in your lifestyle, right? Because you want to make sure it's aligned with you. If you are already distracted and stressed, and then keeping a fast is totally going to stress you out even more, that's not a good idea at the time, right? So this was a little bit short. I'm just going to go back and join my friends downstairs. So again, it's Ganesh Chaturthi. We're done with the Chaturthi, but this Ganesha festival is the most amazing festival ever. So we worship Lord Ganesha right from his Chaturthi to what we call Chaturdashi. So for 10 days, different people will host the Lord for 1.5 days or 5 days or 10 days, and then we all celebrate, we all pray together, we all eat some like really delicious food, and we all sing a lot of prayers, and it's so much fun, right? So I'm here celebrating with my friends. So I'll just say a quick bye, and thank you all for watching this live, and thanks so much. Have a fantastic evening. This Saturday is planetary archetypes. So if you want to know the connection between Ayurvedic doshas and planets, or if you want to know what does it mean to be born on a certain day, right? I was born on Sunday, so I'm kind of excited to know what being born on Sunday really means. So we're going to discover all that by interviewing Nandi Shivam. He's a Vedic astrologer, he's an astrology mentor, he's a meditation coach, and he's also the founder of Natraja Jyotish, which is his website. So I'm super excited about that. The interview will take place on my Facebook page, my Facebook group, and my YouTube page as well. If you have missed any content from me, all you have to do is scroll on my Facebook page or go to my YouTube channel, and you'll find all the recordings right there. I record everything I teach, or any of the talks that I do. So it's always good to have that content ready, and people, it just helps people understand a few things better. So thank you so much once again for watching, and have a fantastic evening. And I'm ready to go back to all my celebrations, and have a good night. Bye for now.